Torah that if you eat chazir is, in English it's P-I-G, you get 39 lashes. But how much do you have to eat to get 39 lashes? How much you have to eat? The Torah says kazayit. Kazayit is like an ounce. So if you eat a half an ounce of chazir, you don't get any lashes. But is it a sin? Or only when there's a whole ounce does it become a sin? You understand what I'm asking here? Because there's no liability if you don't eat an ounce. So can I eat less than an ounce? Or only when there's an ounce does it become the chazir that you're not allowed to eat? According to Reish Lakish, if you don't eat an ounce, you're allowed to eat chazir as long as it's less than an ounce. So what do some Jews do? They eat every hour another less than an ounce. So like through the day, it becomes, so they don't get the sin according to Reish Lakish. Why? According to Reish Lakish, he holds the whole identity of non-kosher food, in order to become an identity of non-kosher, has to have a minimum size of a value. If it doesn't have a quantity of a certain size, it's not in the category of non-kosher. You shouldn't do it maybe rabbinically, but biblically, it's not in the category, because in order to be non-kosher, it has to have a minimum of the size of an ounce. Okay, the rabbis came and they made it because people are going to start eating a whole day chazir less than an ounce, and they'll say they're kosher, because they eat less than an ounce of chazir. So why am I saying this? Because there is some things in Torah that don't become anything till they become a full thing. For example, if you build the Beis HaMikdash and you're missing one wall, you're missing one wall. Did you build the Beis HaMikdash? Is it holy? No. Till you finish the entire holiness, it's like, someone once told me, he made tzitzis. The tzitzis, how many strings does the tzitzis have, each corner?
8.
8, which is 4 that you fold in half. So someone asked me, if you make tzitzis and you only have 3 strings, is it considered almost tzitzis? Or it's nothing?
Nothing.
And the answer is it's nothing. Because if there's no 4 strings, which is 8, then it doesn't even get to the entity of tzitzis to begin with. 3 is nothing. It's just regular ropes. You want it to be tzitzis? You need 4 that will become 8. Then you start talking about tzitzis. But as long as you don't have 4 tzitzis, you could say everything you want. You're not tzitzis. It's just strings. So therefore the Rambam says a very interesting thing. The Rambam holds like this. When you build the menorah and the mizbeach, on its own it has no validity. Because if you're not going to use it in the temple, what is it? It's a piece of gold that has a nice lantern, and that's it. But then he says, once you do use it in the temple, then every individual piece of furniture gets its own holiness. In other words, once it was used as part of the culmination of the entire temple structure, now each individual piece of furniture gets its own holiness to it, once it was used as part of the entire general holiness. So in other words, according to the Rambam, when you make the menorah and the table, you're supposed to make it for what purpose? L'shem Bet HaMikdash. I'm building it for the Bet HaMikdash. And once it's used in the Beis HaMikdash, each individual piece is going to get its own entity as a holiness. So therefore, it's interesting, are you allowed to build the Beis HaMikdash at night? The structure. The structure of the temple, could you build at night? The Torah says no. It has to be only when it's daylight outside. So the question becomes, what's with the furniture? The menorah, the table, could I do that at night? It's not part of the structure. But according to the Rambam, the whole entity of a menorah and the whole entity of an altar becomes an entity only when it's part of the Beis HaMikdash. If it's not part of the structure of Beis HaMikdash, it's not holy. So therefore you cannot build them. Either the furniture you also can't build at night. According to the opinion that holds the menorah is holy, even if it's not part of the structure, so you can build it at night. Well, according to the opinion that the holiness only becomes if it becomes part of the general temple structure and it's part of the furniture of the temple, that's when it becomes holy, and that's when it gets its holiness. So then it's like building the structure. Just like the structure you can't build at night, you can't build the furniture also at night. You understand what I just said?
It's the opposite also. You were saying the other day that the Beit HaMikdash isn't complete without the Mizbeach and the Menorah.
Exactly, both of them. So therefore, it's interesting when you build these things.